board meeting. Please help me open with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May we have the roll call?
Trustee Grimm?
Here.
Trustee Jessberger?
Present.
No Trustee Clark. Fiscal officers here. Superintendent of Public Works and Township Administrator.
Here.
Chief of Fire.
Here.
Chief of Police.
Here.
Code Compliance.
Here.
All right. Our next meeting is scheduled to be June 3rd, 2025 at 999 Chambers Road at 6 p.m. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda with flexibility. So moved.
Trustee Grimm?
Yep.
Trustee Jessberger?
Yes.
Okay, just want to introduce Luke and Stephen with SOPAC. They're going to do a presentation on their aggregation program. Yes. And all set. Just do the arrow. You're right.
Fantastic. Thank you for the introduction tonight. I'm the Executive Director of SOPEC. Steve is our Regional Director for Central Ohio. Figure out how to advance the clicker. There we go.
You go.
We got it.
There you go.
All right. So SOPEC, I'm going to go into this in detail, and please ask any questions as you'd like. We are a public entity. We're a Council of Governments under Chapter 167 in the State Code, and we are now over a decade old, which we're pretty excited about. I like to say we're governed by the communities we serve. So our governing body is made up of a General Assembly, which is one member, one vote. In addition, we have a subset of that, which is our Board of Directors, which we have representation from all of our communities, types at least, on that board as well. So it's important for us that we're both present and governed by those communities. Our mission's pretty straightforward. It's our goal to provide valuable and reliable public energy. Those programs can come in a lot of forms, but we'll get into that here in a second. So we are a staff of 20 or so. We're right at 20 right now. But we do have other partners that work with us to build out our capacities beyond that. We do have a contract with AP Energy, and we have law support from Dickinson Wright, who's an international law firm with a strong presence here in Central Ohio. But on our team, we have folks like Steve who work with the communities directly, are there to make sure we're listening to our communities and directly working with them on a day-to-day basis. We also have administrative support, financial folks, legal folks in-house and externally, and then our really robust grant writing team. So we have the resources in-house to both procure grants and help manage grants, which I think is really unique in our space, and we're really excited by what that's been able to yield. We are growing. So I mentioned we're a decade old, but really in the last several years, we've really hit a stride. Communities as big as Dayton and Cleveland, and as small as the village of Norwich, which I think has 110 residents, somewhere in there. And so a lot of communities in between, a lot of small-sized cities, townships, counties. So a lot of variety here locally. If you're trying to figure out those dots, that would be Gahanna, Upper Arlington, Blendon Township most recently, and Marble Cliff. Columbus is still bigger than we are, but we'd be the second largest city in the state if you put all of our communities together. But Columbus being bigger than us still, but we're catching up, almost as big as Columbus. Community choice aggregation. This is not new for Ohio, but new for some communities. So Central Ohio has been passing legislation lately, where some other communities have had it on the books for 2 decades. So walking through it a little bit, in Ohio, when we deregulated back in the late 90s, it gave consumers the ability to shop for their electricity and their natural gas at the individual level, enabled you to shop at a community level. We take that further with the Council of Governments, where we shop as a collective group of communities buying power together. So those 41 communities are buying power together. Sometimes it comes in different configurations, but we're sharing intelligence and putting those resources together to make it work. So I'll unpack that a little more since you guys are new to aggregation as a community and the concept. But effectively, it gives you a choice. It becomes the new default offering. So folks can still shop like they always have, but it becomes a new default offering. What it does not do is disrupt the existing service you have. So AP Ohio provides, for better or worse, lines and service So any reliability you have now is going to be exactly the same. Any of the lines and wires are going to be exactly the same. This is the generation portion. When we deregulate in Ohio, we split the generation from distribution. So this is your ability to pick where your power comes from, not how it gets to your house. That's still exactly the same, but it isn't the ability for you to pick. And in our case, encourage clean energy as part of that process. So to that, 100% of our programs are green energy by default. We were one of the first in the country to do that. Feel very proud of that. Our communities have mixed economic resources, so for them to do that collectively and believe in the goal, and I'll say for another supply year, they're all going to be under the market price again. The estimated savings is going to be below what the standard service offer would be. So being able to enact green energy programming and use our smart buying power to be able to get below the default offering, we feel is a huge policy win on both fronts. Some examples of those savings. Cleveland had over $17 million of savings. About $13 million that first year. We're in the second year of their program right now. But actually, the first year was $17 million. Forget the end of the year calculations there. So that was a huge win. Broke out to about $340 per household. So obviously, we took advantage of when to buy power and made a good decision in partnership with the city. Upper Arlington, more recently, saw $2.5 million of savings. We were in Gehenna last night. They've only had a program since December, but their savings have already been over $400,000 in estimated savings for households there. So very excited by the potential of this tool. Very excited that the township is considering moving forward with the aggregation program. Again, just speaking to how big we are. So if you look at kilowatts, that actually moves us into the terawatts category. But the short answer to that is that gives us a lot of collective buying power, both in our ability to get competitive pricing, but it also allows us to get very advanced policy tools. So one of the things we can do, we were the first in the state to offer net metering within an aggregation program, which means if you have solar in your house, being able to take advantage of aggregation and getting paid for what you're getting on your roof in a positive manner. So we look for ways like that to utilize our buying power to get better contracts for our members and the individuals in them. Another program we have is our public pricing program. So in addition to aggregation, which we do for gas and electric, we also have a separate program for our municipalities and nonprofits within our footprint. That enables us to go out and secure competitive pricing for them, usually about 10 to 15% below what the aggregation rates are. Different rate classes, different risk for utilities providing power. But we have a number of public entities, library districts, park districts, conservation districts that take advantage of that, but also a lot of our villages, townships, cities, their water departments. Typically your strongest, or your highest energy bill in a given community is your water resources. So your sewer plant and your water plant, and we work with them to help reduce those rates, and therefore, at the end of the day, helping reduce public costs and letting them do other things with public dollars. We also are very active in helping make sure our communities get credit for the work they're doing. So at present, there are 19 communities in Ohio that have an EPA Green Power Partnership designation. All 19 of those are SOPAC member communities. Pretty proud of that. It comes with a really nice road sign, so you get to brag about it as a community if you so choose. But that's just recognition that our communities have a significant amount of green power, providing power to those communities, and they've made efforts to go there. So, and that actually about a fifth of the programs nationwide are SOPAC. So Ohio, with SOPAC, is really leading the way too, which is really great. And again, while saving money. And there you go, 18%. Another program we offer, happy to help communities across the state, members or non-members, is the SolSmart program. So this is a policy tool to help make communities solar ready. So we're talking about rooftop on small businesses, on households, but really looking at the red tape and using some guidelines to help make it as easy as possible while making sure it's the right fit for a given community. So there's a lot of flexibility in how this is done, but it's really looking at the red tape and how you can streamline some of those permitting processes. I will highlight the first in the state to get SolSmart Gold was Upper Arlington. They did that before joining us, so we can't take credit for that, but credit to Upper Arlington for getting that achieved. But happy to see this list grow. I spoke on grants a few minutes ago. We view aggregation as a tool to do other great things. So when you have the communities together, it really creates the opportunities to do a lot of great work. We have dedicated staff that write grants, that find grants, and also manage grants. That's actually a real pain too, to actually keep the grants. They say it's easy to get them sometimes, or hard to get them, easy to lose. So we have folks work for us. In fact, one of them just came from Ohio State Wexner, another came from the airport, helping us do the back-end accounting, processing, so that burden is not on our communities either. This one that we're highlighting right here is an EV charging grant. Morpsey also got one of these grants, so excited for them on that front. But that allows EV charging infrastructure to be deployed to help folks have access to charging in a more robust way. This one in particular was Southwest and Southeast Ohio, which do not have a lot of charging. So for folks from Central Ohio, that helps you get to where you want to go, whether it be the beach or the East Coast. That enables them to have charging stations along the way. And for those communities, it literally puts them on the map. But that was a need that was identified by our members, so we went out and applied. And we were actually the only entity in the country that got both a community and a corridor grant. So we're pretty excited about our grant team and their ability to do that. And the cool part about this too is that the chargers we're deploying are at no cost to our member communities. So we're able to leverage different dollars to put it together with the federal funds to we're able to deploy this program at no cost to the members, which is great. Some other examples of some other grants that we've secured in recent years. We have a very active partnership with USDA. There have been programs to help folks put solar on roofs for small businesses. You'll see rural development up here. In Franklin County, it would still apply if you're doing urban agriculture. So if you're doing an agricultural operation in city limits, this would still be a relevant grant for you. If you're doing a greenhouse, for you to help offset your costs. So we do have a grant for that, but as it applies to Franklin County, it's mostly for urban ag. Outside of the metro areas, it can open up to a lot of small businesses. But just an example of us being able to provide that support. We do that statewide, actually. We're also very open to innovative programming. So this is unique to the city of Athens. I'll step back here, right in the way. City of Athens wanted to pursue the first carbon fee in the country. That is not the right fit for everybody, but for Athens, they wanted to pursue it. They said, we want to go to the voters and see what they think about it. So they added a small fee to their aggregation program, and it got support of 76% of the voters. So they were right, the voters did support it. That fund generates about $100,000 a year, so $100,000 towards public solar infrastructure projects. As a result, behind those folks there, you're seeing solar on their sewer plant. And so as energy prices are rising, they now have solar on the sewer plant, the water plant, and we're working on deploying it in several other facilities as well. So that's become a really great policy tool for them. And the latest rent pricing, I was just talking to them this morning, they're going to be below the market price while having the carbon fee and being 100% green powered. So a lot of things in that program, but doing a lot of public good, and the program itself serving public good by being at a below market rate of what the standard service offer, which in their case is also AP Ohio would be. We also have built into our program, if communities choose, and most do, to have community grants built directly into the program. So we're able to give, we don't have shareholders, we are a public entity, so we have members. So periodically, in the case of this one, that's not a huge check, but that represents them having a pool break in the middle of the season. So they reached out to us, said, how much do we have in our grants this year? And they had a sufficient amount. Gal Police down in Gallia County had the same problem, and they got a similar sized check to help them replace that mid-season. So the municipal budget didn't have to pay for it, and that was a huge relief to them as they're trying to maintain that in real time. Some of the bigger communities is proportional to the number of folks you have in the program. We are helping Athens put solar on their armories, they're rebuilding it. We just helped Dayton on some projects recently. Every community's different what their needs are. But there is a designated, it's non-competitive, so if you're in the grant program, it's an allocation basis, and it does roll over year to year, so that's funds that are set aside. We do also have a small portion of it that goes towards regional projects, so if there's more than one jurisdiction in a given community or region, things like bike paths or lighting projects or things that might overlap, we have the money set aside up front so that folks don't have to pull from their own resources. We can use those to help accelerate what they're trying to achieve. The best case scenario for a lot of these grants, though, is it provides a local match. So if there's a grant that we've helped you identify, this can provide the local match, and therefore you have no out-of-pocket expense. If we can have enough to do that, it's a win-win, and we just leverage those dollars to get even more. Some examples, we've got to get some more around the state, but some of these, this is the first rural transit bus in the state of Ohio, and a nonprofit that does community art did the decorations there. That's very Athens. Logan had the first EV police cruiser in the state of Ohio. So fair warning, if you're cruising through Logan, say no.
We may have been first, but
you guys, all right, well, I want to hear more about that, though.
You don't
all
know.
right.
It's fine.
No, I want to hear more offline.
Yeah. It's like neck and neck. I just wanted to brag.
No, that's great. I like that kind of competition. I believe it was an outfit out of Delaware that did retrofitting, though, so it may be the same folks, so I do remember that date.
Yeah.
So that's exciting, and there's a great video, I don't know if you guys have seen this yet, of them actually doing a police chase of 33 with the officer seeing all my exes live in Texas as he's cruising down the road. I say that, he's calm as a cucumber while he's driving because he's in a high-speed chase, but there's nothing revving, nothing shifting gears, so he's very calm. We're talking to Logan, it's been a pilot project, so they've had learning lessons there, but we provided the chargers for that program. The first net zero fire station, in that case an EMS station, we just did a 911 center as well, but for Athens County. And then Dayton became the first lead for cities, one of the first in the country, but definitely the first in Ohio to get platinum. And we provided the staff and resource through the community grant for them to achieve that. So, and that's the new arcade. If you've not been to the arcade, our office is right on the corner there, which is a beautiful new project that they did. All right, well that's the formal presentation. I did want to highlight a few other things as we go through this. So SOPEC is happy to help communities go through the ballot process. We have a long history of that. The majority of our communities did go through the ballot with us. We provide that support. Most recently, London was successful with us in going through that process. We are, again, made up of the members we serve. So our staff are on the ground. We join the local chambers. We're part of the active local Main Street programs, so those apply, so historic preservation. We view sustainability holistically. So energy is a major component, but that doesn't mean there's not more to energy that we can provide support for. We may have the expertise, we may not, but we're happy to be part of the conversations and connect the dots where other folks may be the experts on that. And sometimes it's our members themselves that have the knowledge. That's one of my favorite parts about our meeting is the cross-sharing that happens. So when somebody buys the Police Star, we're able to do show and tell, and the rest of the folks are able to ask questions for better or worse. How did this work out? How did you finance that? What are the lessons learned? And so that's one of my favorite parts about our meetings when we get together is that cross-sharing that happens. Communities large and small can lean on us for resources. We had a large community in Central Ohio recently, as they joined us, was looking at solar on one of their new community center. And brilliant staff, had all the resources, but didn't know as much about solar, so they pulled us in with their architects and were able to work on the schedule, figure out when to pull the crane in, to put the solar on the roof, and to put the L feet down on the roof before the warranty was attached. So we were able to make solar viable on the 6-story building, where it otherwise would have been a huge lift for them bringing outside consulting, and then gave them an RFP template for them to be able to use too. So we're happy, large and small, resourced and unresourced. In fact, most of our communities are pretty under-resourced historically, but we do have communities on both ends of that spectrum. So happy to entertain any questions you guys may have.
So the solar panels, are you talking about putting them on homes? Now, is this going to have to be voted on?
So if the way that aggregation works in Ohio, when it was when we deregulated as a state, residents do have to enable their local jurisdiction to empower them to operate a program. So local residents in this case, if the trustees want to put it on the ballot, then residents would have the chance to vote on it on gas and electric separately. The majority support that. Then there's a process for them to enact it. So they would select somebody to enact a program with. There's what's called a plan of governance. So there's a couple public hearings that happen to help folks have some information about what the program looks like. And there's a whole lot of legal requirements on notification periods after that. But yeah, folks would have the chance to vote on it prior to the township enacting the
I've
program.
been thinking about it for years, but
And there are about 400 communities in the state of Ohio that have active programs at this point. But yeah, some have been doing it a long time, some have only been doing it a few years, but pretty wide array.
well, I have neighbors and they put solar panels on the side. I don't know who the people were that, got them to put those on there, but they said it was free, the installation, but I'm thinking, And then later she said the first bill that after it was already hooked up there, it was $30. But like I said, I don't have all the information.
I would share if you want to do, in my past life, I was the state director for a nonprofit called Solar United Neighbors. So if residents, this is something discussed with the trustees as well, but if residents have an interest in exploring that, there's a nonprofit that pulls folks together and doing group buys and does the community education work with that too. They usually have a central, they call them co-ops, going in pretty often. And so that would be my recommendation to look at Solar United Neighbors if you want to explore that for residential. We enable it through the way we do our contracts for aggregation to making sure folks get the full benefit of solar once they've installed it. But our role in that's largely to support the organizations doing that work. We mostly help the communities themselves do it, or if a community wants to work with us on powering residents on a large scale. But yeah, residents and small businesses, I would encourage to check out Solar United Neighbors. It's probably
They might be part of Columbus's co-op.
We are.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Sorry,
Save me.
So he's talking about all of our residents, if they vote to approve it, going to the market to try to lower the prices. So that's what aggregation means. If the voters approve this, You won't see more solar panels the following month. Hopefully in time, from different places, solar panels may happen. But SOPEC does a lot, and you kind of try to give us the skinny on the many things you do. But tonight we're talking about aggregation for the board. The
I
board
agree.
has to make a decision. The voters are going to choose that or not.
Right.
Can you walk me through how the aggregation process works? And then the other thing that I'm interested in learning about is families that do have solar versus families that don't have solar. How does that pricing difference happen?
Yeah, the latter is a pretty easy one. From our side, the price per kilowatt's the same, but their ability to be compensated is the equivalent if you didn't have an aggregation program. So it's typically a 1-to-1 of the given month. So if somebody's producing power on their home, then the utility gives them a credit on their bill against the power. So they call it net metering. Let's say right now you're at a council meeting and you're not using as much electricity as your home's consuming, your meter's effectively spinning backwards. When you turn everything on at night, it's spinning forward again, and it's that net balance that you charge for at the end of the month. So it really doesn't relate to aggregation, in more that we believe that a program should allow for it, and that you should get the full evaluation the same way. So we've made our program such that nobody's harmed by doing aggregation. You're getting the benefits of the negotiated aggregation rate and being able to take the full benefit of that offset you would get through a utility if you just run your own. That's not been the case historically for a lot of aggregation programs. You had to pick one or the other. We like that you can do both. So there's no harm to anybody else. In fact, I would say folks that have solar are actually helping the community at large because you're offsetting the demand capacity, getting really wonky here for a second, but the total stress on the grid when it's stressed most, folks that have solar are actually offsetting that. So there's actually a net benefit for the entire community from these folks who are not using electricity at the peak demand when everything's most stressed in the middle of summer, in the middle of winter. And it's a really cold day, a really hot day. But and your first question again, I'm sorry, that was a two-parter.
It's how the aggregation works. So like, how does it? So if let's say that I have AEP right now.
Yep.
How would my pricing change if we were to move to SOPEC?
Yep, so your bill's gonna look largely the same. It's something we're working on, trying to get more identifiers on the bill, but it's pretty limited. But your bill's still gonna come from AP Ohio. What will change is the amount on the line that says how much you're paying for generation. So the generation component is going to be the negotiated rate from the aggregation program versus the published rate from the utility. And so I talked about the savings a few slides back. That was based on the differential between what the utility was charging if you decided to opt out of a program or if a community didn't have aggregation at all. That's the delta between those two numbers. So it'd be First Energy in the uppercase, AP in the second, AP Ohio. And so for how it works, I guess I can walk through that for a second. So just going back to the start. So after, let's say everything goes through, let's say you get select us, great. Voters say, fantastic, we want to do this, overwhelmingly it's passed. There are a couple pieces of legislation that have to pass to enact a program after that. There's 2 public hearings that are attached to that legislation, so the public has a chance to ask questions and weigh in, what's called the plan of governance, and that's how the program's structured. After that, everybody's agreed on it. We work with our member communities, when, especially that first year, when they would like to lock in a price. And so we're in communication with the members. So by passing aggregation, by adopting a program, you're not agreeing to any price at all right there. You are just locking in that we want to make the option available to us as a policy tool. And if you're partnered with us, then we want to work with you on securing a price. And so when we get pricing daily from AP Energy, excuse me, it's confusing. We get pricing daily from AP Energy, or what's called our CREST provider, and we watch the markets. So we look for those market downturns and we buy when the markets are cheap. We're also watching when the utilities are buying because they have published prices at the auctions periodically when they buy their power. We're watching that, and our goal is to buy below that. Once all that happens, we agree on a price, you guys are happy, everything's great. There are some legal filings that go with the PCO. There has to be a letter sent out to residents, so residents will see a letter in the mailbox. The residents will have 21 days to respond to the letter saying, I would like to opt out of this program. If they don't want to participate, they're not in it. If it's day 22, they might be in the program for a month and decide I don't want to do this. There's no cost in our program to opt out anytime. So if somebody says 2 months from now I can find a better rate, fine. If somebody says I should have signed up the first time or I'm going to come back in now, that's fine too. It just takes until the utility does the next billing cycle for folks to come in. I should talk about who's in aggregation too. That's a good broad framing. So aggregation itself, if you are on the PIP program, which is Percentage of Income Payment Program, you are by statute not eligible to do aggregation. So those folks are set aside as a state statute, by PUC regulations at least. If you have shop for power on your own, so if you're on the Apples to Apples website trying to find your own rates, it does not impact you. It does not disrupt anything you've done on your own. So if somebody has an existing contract, it does not disrupt that. If you have a contract or you're at the end of a contract and you'd like to come in, there may be fees from that vendor, and you need to check on that. But it may make sense even with the fees, or may not. You decide for yourself, but you're able to come into the programs you choose. Or some folks sign up for a program 5 years ago and they're just being enrolled into something and don't even realize it. Those folks obviously can opt in too. So you would have to proactively opt in if that's the case, but for everybody else, they'll just need to opt out. And it's small businesses under 700,000 kilowatt hours a year. So most small, medium businesses will be opted in automatically unless they choose to opt out. So they would be getting able to take advantage of the same program as well. It does not affect industry and large commercial in Ohio, but broad strokes, that's kind of how it works. And then, yeah, I guess hopefully that answers the question.
I kind of want to step back a little bit
Sure.
to the market system. So are you saying that there's like a energy stock market in which people can go out and contract with different partners to be able to provide energy to people?
So as a deregulated state in Ohio, individuals can go to the website Apples to Apples and shop for power as an individual. So you can do that right now. I would just throw a few cautionary tales out there. If you are doing that, there's some filters you can put on the website as you're doing it. And it's a great way to see what your current rate is, because you can look at, in this utility, here's what my current rate is. And the supply year changes in June. So we're going to see new rates take effect in June, and they are going to go up. So probably most of you have heard that news already. That's going to probably change again slightly in July for AP Ohio territory, but not much. So the big change is June, and there's going to be a slight change come July. I'm not sure what that number is going to be in July. But as an individual, yes, you absolutely can shop for yourself. But the cautionary parts are look for fees. There's sometimes fees in there, a monthly fee in addition to your energy bill. So look for that. Look for what's called introductory pricing. So it may be a variable price where the 1 month is fantastic, but month 2 is horrendous. And you may have signed a multi-year deal and the first month looks great, but if that's all you're looking at, you may not see them. So be on the lookout for those things as you're shopping. You also have the option to choose if you'd like green power or not. So if that's something that you value, you can do that with a program like ours, or you can do it as an individual. But and there's different versions of what that looks like. For us, that means wind and solar. There's some other stuff mixed in there depending on how it's phrased, but on the Apples to Apples website. But yeah, individuals absolutely can do that. And they can still do that even if aggregation were to be enacted. It does not take that right away from them. So if they can find a better rate, we found we had 111 folks practically join the program at the end of last year, or last 6 months really, that decided our program is better than what they could find themselves. So they opted into the program after we did the opt-out. So when the price is good, it's really popular. So
I'm sorry, what I meant was,
yes.
you guys, you,
Oh, us.
I don't want to do that.
Okay.
That sounds stressful. But so you go to this energy stock market, and then that's how you're able to get this generation component to be able to lower the AEP bill.
So our CREST provider is AP Energy.
Okay.
So AP Energy is our partner on that. And so with the way we have ours arranged, they can do pricing every day. And so we're watching the market as we're looking at indicative, what we call indicative pricing. When we want to actually execute pricing, the way our program works, we ask them, we say we'd like to lock, usually give them some runway. We're going to lock, market's looking favorable, keep an eye on it, but we'll say today's the day. When today is the day, they have to go out and get 3 market quotes for us. So they do a process to make sure we're getting competitive pricing, and to keep them honest, with a long-term contract, that's an important feature for us, that AP Energy is getting competitive bidding themselves. So as they're securing market pricing in real time, they're required to get us 3 quotes in our contract. So as they're getting our pricing, they're getting us 3 quotes, and they have to take the lowest quote to provide that power to us. So when we think the market is close to where we want it to be, it usually goes down, frankly, as you'd expect from being able to do that. Yep.
Okay, so what basically, if I'm understanding this correctly, and I don't know very much about energy, so my apologies if I sound silly, but you guys go out and you create these general contracts, and sometimes, most of the time, and you also want to be able to focus on finding clean energy contracts that you're looking at to be able to add this generation component to what the bill to the bills that we're receiving, so that it could potentially be a lower price than what is provided, what we would be getting regularly.
So I'll simplify it a little further, I guess. So we have a long-term supply agreement with AP Energy. So we have that agreement in place. New communities are able to take advantage of this negotiated agreement we have. So we have this long-term agreement. Historically, some folks thought RFPs were the best model. We're going to get a new supplier every time. But the reality is that there's been so much merging of suppliers. Communities are finding out when they do an RFP, they get 1 bid, 2 bids, and you make it the best price on a given day. But just imagine buying stock, saying, I want to buy Apple stock. I'm going to buy it on May 1st, no matter what the price is. Price may be much better May 2nd. So we determined a number of years ago that it made sense for us to have this model where we have a partner, but we keep the partner honest and get competitive pricing with that. But the real value proposition is when you buy the power and the flexibility to buy it. Yes, it's the price it is somewhat cyclical, and it's very volatile, frankly. Energy is very volatile. But there's only a handful of suppliers in the marketplace in general. So when folks are running RFPs, you'll see that it's a very short list of RFPs that are coming back. And again, like I said, we were asked to bid on a project 2 months ago, I believe it was, because they only got 1 bid. So that's becoming, or maybe 2 bids, and they may be owned by the same company. I would say the RFP model is not an effective tool at this point in this space. As a public entity, we look very closely at that and reevaluate our contract with AP Energy periodically to make sure it is what's in our interest and our community's interest. But we have made the decision that makes sense for us to lock in that long-term agreement, which gives us the flexibility to negotiate policy with them. And we've made it a standard of ours to include green energy. We did that, a number of years ago at this point. We went 100% green energy. Some of our, and I guess I can lay that out too. So a few of our communities were 100% green from the beginning. Not all of them were. We went to the communities that weren't a number of years ago and said, if it gets us a better price by having this bigger buying block, how do you guys feel about also buying green power? And to their credit, those members said, we're getting a better price, great. And so we now have a very politically diverse group of folks that join with us, and they're 100% green. We're all saving money together. We're all doing green energy together. So that's become a really great story in Ohio right now for us, and we feel really great about that.
Any questions? What's a library district?
Oh, so most libraries in Ohio are library districts. So Columbus Library District, the Dayton Library District, Metro Library District. So it's the libraries themselves or a political subdivision.
Okay, so like Columbus Metro
Yep.
would be a library district,
Yes.
but there's multiple branches.
Yep. So like the Dayton Library District, we serve them. So we help them do energy analysis, in Dayton in particular. They were looking at their energy bills of why some buildings were charging or having much more energy loads, and realized that they were on, I don't know how many different contracts. And so we were able to pull these contracts together and really evaluate what they're paying, because they were doing it on their own, and it was much more advantageous for them to do it with us. Some of those public entities may have hundreds of accounts in a given communities. If you figure even streetlights, we look at streetlights, but even beyond that, if you look at every facility and every meter, it adds up really quick. And so, so that's what a lot of it. It's the park districts, so metro parks, library districts, sewer districts. Well, they're also political subdivisions.
And from what I've heard, if people do have solar, the net metering from like AEP is not necessarily the best program, so they really lose a lot of money even though they're doing a lot of sharing. Do you feel like that's accurate?
I would say it's not a perfect model. I would say they are not being compensated for full value. It's a different conversation. Net metering is the tool that enables folks to access the grid and effectively use the grid as a battery, which benefits everybody. I would say there's definitely improvements that can be made to improve the value of the real value they're providing to the grid itself. There's a lot of capacity benefits they're providing. So I think it's imperfect, but net metering is the tool we have for folks to be part of that in the simplest way.
Very cool.
Any other questions?
This is a much more robust, 2 weeks ago we learned just about aggregation, so I appreciate that SOPEC does a lot more than just aggregation. So tonight we're trying to talk just about aggregation because that's really the steps this board needs to take if they want to let the voters decide. But I learned a lot of things in your presentation and I find it pretty helpful, but I won't bog us down. The weeds, there's many weeds to get.
And we're always happy to go in the weeds.
Yeah.
So, but thank you.
Luke, I had a couple clarification. When you said the plan of governance and the notification periods, is that something that SOPAC or representative will help shepherd along
Yes.
the way as far as what needs to happen when, and even as far as mailing and marketing
Yep.
to send out to the residents? Okay, and number 2 was, when you're saying, are you saying AEP Energy is the supplier?
There are crests, yes.
Okay, and that's separate. That's a separate altogether than AEP.
Correct, it's an
It's
affiliate of
separate.
AEP, yes. It's a
Okay,
separate entity.
I just wanted to
There's
to
AP
make
Ohio,
that
there's
clear.
AP Corporate, there's AP Energy, there's
Correct,
a lot
okay.
more, but yes. And to the first question, just give you an example, we had a community today indicate they were moving forward with this. We gave them legislation the same day. So any of the legal filings, we've got 2 lawyers. One, just recently joined us from Swaco after 16 years there. The other has been an attorney for over a decade as well. So we have all the in-house resources there, and then again, outside counsel, including former PUCO staff that work with us, so we make sure everything's proper. But as far as the lift for communities, we take care of all of it. Public hearings, the obligation for the community is to work with us on submitting the notifications and for them to open and close the meeting. But we're happy to be there to support all along the way, so, and including ballots. So when it comes, I should clarify on ballot campaigns too, we are a government entity. We cannot do any form of persuasion, but we are happy to do education. And so we do mailings to voters to let them be informed within the confines of being education. We're happy to provide yard signs to let folks know it's on the ballot. And then we, last summer, worked with, maybe 2 summers ago, Upper Arlington, and did a series of public forums to allow folks to ask any questions they might have. In addition to what was legally required, we're more than happy to come and speak with folks and make sure everybody's comfortable and informed. But yes, the short answer is yes.
All right, great,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you all very much for inviting us tonight. Appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Visiting trustee.
Appreciate it.
Whoa, wait.
All right. On the agenda, so this week is EMS week. So being National EMS Week 2025, the theme for this year is We Care for Everyone. This week is a time to recognize and appreciate the contributions of emergency medical services professionals. So with our fire and EMS departments in mind, we thank you for everything that you do, everything that our crews do. Very appreciative of that. And on to public comments.
The board is glad to talk to you all now. If anybody in the audience has any questions or comments.
About
Anything?
this program?
You can, yeah, if you want to talk about it, feel free.
Well, I have a complaint. I live on Melrose in the car lot, and I don't know, that's right there on Cleveland and Melrose. They're parking their vehicles on the side of the street, blocking areas. I don't know if there's anyone's investigated that company. I can't remember the name of it.
Can I get your name, ma'am?
Anita.
Anita, what's your last name?
Glasgow.
Anita what?
Glasgow.
Glasgow. Okay, thank you.
G-O-W.
So you're saying that the car
It's-
company is parking their
They're
cars?
parking their cars on the side, of the street.
If I may, are you referring to the car lot at the corner where they're loading and unloading their vehicles and walking the alleyway and
Yeah,
access
plus-
to people's?
Even when they're not, there's no activity, they've got cars parked on the side by the alley. So you can't see, you got the alley blocked, not with blocked with the car, but with vision.
You're right, you can't see it come in and
Can't
out.
see, yeah. And, it just seems like there's a ton of cars in there. I don't know how they even get them in and out of that lot there. But I don't know, it's just been getting worse. They haven't been there that long, I think, maybe 2 years. Plus, they drive the big car loaders down the street, which, that's the only way they probably can get out, because Cleveland Avenue is out, you know, it's hard to get in and out there. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if anyone's ever reported anything about.
Well, you were talking with the code compliance officer, so, but
No, I
Dan
don't,
Quick was
yeah, I
aware
don't
of
know
it.
if anything's been brought up about that company and their activities. Just-
No, I mean, we haven't looked into, as far as I know, they're a car lot. I know there was some issues with the UPS truck and the people that are driving around the trucks when they're in people's yards and things of that nature.
Yeah,
I thought I said something to you, Chief, I apologize if I didn't. There were some photos that were sent to us of some of the issues they're having.
You did.
yeah, it's,
You did, okay.
We had an officer go by and speak with them probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. Has it slowed or are they still unloading on that side street on your street?
I haven't noticed.
Because I know that we had an officer go and speak to them, telling them, we understand, you know, the problem with the Cleveland Avenue, but if they get
Yeah,
the cars further down.
Oh, yeah, that's right, they were right there on Cleveland Avenue, I remember seeing them there. But even on Melrose, they sort of, I guess you can park cars on the side there, but it's right by the alley. They're parking their cars, they're not blocking the alley, but they're right in front of the alley. And you know, you just always have to take your chances.
Well,
See.
We're glad you sort of brought this forward. They are kind of working on it
It's
already.
been an issue ever
Yeah.
since they put that business there.
Yeah, we have the same issue down on Albert in Westerville where we put no parking signs. We actually took tow trucks down and tow cars from the body shop that parks them out in the street. And outside of putting, I had to stop with Mr. Medley the other day, outside of putting guardrails up. They don't care, it's not their cars, it's their customers' cars.
Right.
We've ticketed,
Well,
we've
yeah,
towed them,
that.
and they keep putting these people's cars out in the middle of the road. It's, yeah,
But,
continuous problem.
yeah, well, like I said, I don't know if anyone's, I guess they brought it up, but if there's any other way to make more an investigation of the company itself, not just their actions, what they're doing with the cars and stuff, but, yeah,
So can we
Just
plan
wondered.
to
I don't know.
initiate a conversation with the business?
Sounds like they
Again?
don't care, from what I hear.
Well,
I mean, we can absolutely have an officer go back down and speak with them. We have never, not spoke to them about parking on the side of the road. It was just the original complaint you had when you sent on the tippet line was
Well-
because as the unloading, so if you can make note next time to see if they are still blocking your drive when they're unloading, and then
Yeah.
we'll send an officer down maybe tomorrow to discuss the parking on the side of the road.
It's also a whole lot easier that when you're witnessing the issue that's going on currently,
Right.
to contact us so that we can respond and find them in the middle of
Well-
whatever action it is that they're creating problems with.
Well, I think the people that live right there on the alley, I've just talked to her, and they're really, I mean, I can't imagine looking out my window and just seeing all those cars and stuff, but I feel sorry, 'cause I need to move, so do I, but anyway. It's just, they don't, it's like they shouldn't have put that business there in the first place. It's just, you know, there's too much traffic and it's getting worse. But then Cleveland Avenue with the locks that they're putting in, people won't be, I don't think we'll be able to turn left when we're going north. I think you guys are putting
Yeah, you'll have to go to a traffic light to.
those
to make
islands
left-hand
in,
turn.
yeah. So
They're
that's,
having too many left-hand turn accidents,
yeah. Yeah, well,
so they're trying to restrict the left-hand turns.
yeah. Yeah. And the cook, well, yeah, I'm starting to cook and turn where the light is.
So it sounds like,
That whole traffic thing is
Yeah, right now it's a cluster. I did
Well,
notice that they have the west side sidewalks done,
They're done.
and so they
Yeah, we were-
moved over to the east side.
I think we were gonna have to get over and we didn't, and
Yeah.
the flashing light was on.
So it sounds like the
This is that car
Assistant
lot.
Chief McCoy will talk with officers, potentially to have a conversation with the owner of the business. And then what I'm hearing them say is, in the meantime, if you or your neighbor that are living
Yeah.
right there actually see it happening at that moment, that it's best to get a hold of them so then they can immediately respond if they can.
They can give you the non-emergency phone number, because they're saying they can do a better job if they catch them while they're doing it. If
Right,
they come the following day,
Yeah,
they can't
right.
prove it happened.
but I don't know who should they contact?
The cops will handle it. They can, Officer McCoy will give you a card. Just call the non-emergency
Oh,
number.
okay.
It's not a 911,
But I think,
and we'll just stay on it.
yeah, I think they have had conversations with them before, but it's not getting any better.
Are there any other comments?
Now, when you guys will decide on whether to vote on this?
It's
If
not tonight.
we probably would not do that until like later this summer to
Right,
get it
but I
ready
mean-
for.
It's the township that, okay. So not the ballot.
As well as registered voters.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Fiscal officer.
I did get the April books closed, so we'll do the April fiscal report today. Books closed. April 1st, we had an overall fund balance of $11,742,016.31. Last month, we had $500,340.54 in revenue. Expenditures last month were $789,555.48, leaving us with an overall fund balance of $11,462,891.37. So, request a motion to approve the April fiscal report.
Second?
Trustee Grimm?
Yes.
Trustee Jesberger?
Yes.
And as I emailed the board this afternoon, we do have a draft of the budget ready, so we could approve that at the next meeting, or you could wait till the first meeting in July. So either way, just in June or July, our first meetings, feel free to put this on the agenda, and I don't expect any edits, but we can handle that if it happens. And I'll do a budget working group highlight when we get to it.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
On to committee and team reports. The Clinton Township Community Health Action Team. Chief Riley.
So for our free produce market on May 9th, we distributed 9,000 pounds of free food to 463 individuals. Next free market will be this coming Friday, May 23rd, from 4 to 6 p.m. Today we held our senior health fair at this location with many resources available to the community. That's all I have.
Beautification worker.
I had a family emergency. It's been recently happening, so I personally haven't really been able to keep up with it, but I don't know if Deborah has anything to say.
Pretty much same. I did push for the signups, the initial signups at the beginning of the month, the end of last month. And getting ready to probably tomorrow push out another one to extend that deadline, same as we did last year, to sign up by the end of this month. So that's where we're at.
And can we still sign up people in our neighborhoods if we want to? Can we nominate somebody?
As far as for the judging piece,
For the judging or for the participants?
yes, it's essentially the same as last year. Right now, we're just in the sign-up phase. But yeah, they'll have opportunities to nominate.
So if you have a specific neighbor that you think is doing a really awesome job, go ahead and nominate them. we'd love to be able to celebrate all the people that are working hard to keep their spaces beautiful. So that we can show appreciation.
When you get.
Last year we
contest?
last year we had 3 prizes. We gave away 3 gift cards.
Oh.
It was really fun. We had a good time.
Did you guys tour each one?
And we took pictures.
I'll tell you all about it anyhow.
Thank you.
Budget work group.
We had a working group meeting here last week. I don't think we have one calendared yet for October. But all the department heads have been working on their draft of the budget and really doing their appropriations for next year. So it came together pretty well. I should have wrote more of this down, but by October, we'll be making some decisions with the board, possibly purchasing a medic, if revenues tend to come in as we're hoping they will. So, folks, do you have any other highlights from the budget meeting? It was, it's just going better, and like we talked about, probably doing a transfer to fire soon for $100,000 to get a repair done that he needs done, just sort of not waiting to do that. So within the next 2 meetings, I'm sure we'll be doing transfers, and I'll try to write down more highlights because it's better not to work from my memory. So, went well, is all I'm saying. I enjoyed the budget process this year.
Insurance committee work group. Dave, I'll have you do this one.
Our committee has met with Michelle Crockett to go over what we can do with our medical mutual PPO. They came in at a higher percentage. We discussed we'd do a lower percentage and brought it down to a 7% increase. So that's what I got the motion to accept the insurance committee's recommendation to renew the medical mutual PPO at a 7% increase for all eligible employees and elected officials for a 12-month contract starting July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026.
So moved.
Second?
Trustee Graham?
Yes.
Trustee Jesberger?
Yes. On to administration.
Okay, I've submitted my monthly report to the board. I got a few highlights from it. Chief James and I worked with IT to remove the police department's laptops, the hard drives out of them, so we had a record purge. So that was done. And we have quite a few old electronic devices that should be picked up tomorrow to send to recycling. Then I submitted a letter for assistance to Franklin County Engineer's Office for the OPWC State Fiscal Year 2027 grant. I talked to one of the engineers today, and they measured up the roads, and they are working on that through that grant process. All Secured worked on the North Gate and is now working. I attended a leadership event at Madison Township along with Cody Lester and Trustee Jesberger. Electrical issues are completed at 99 Chambers Road, and the 3 additional electrical boxes for cameras have been installed also. Public Works crew, we replanted some dead memorial trees on the west side, some at Chambers Road and Triangle Park with assistance of Nick Donnie. I reviewed with department heads the OTARM insurance renewal policy for the township, got their input, and we kind of looked at what items we needed to add and subtract just to make sure we was getting the correct quote. Then the Department of Agriculture stopped by to inspect our pesticides records here at the township, and we passed fine. Next, we have the leadership retreat update. Or no, I'm sorry, I
No, I put
want
that.
no, you put that, okay.
Yeah, so I put that there, so we originally had it scheduled for the 31st, but one of the board members is now unable to attend, and so we need to reschedule it. So kind of the issue that we're running into is, the consulting company, have limited dates available in the summer on the weekends. And while it might sound better to do it during the work week, we need both of the individuals from the consulting firm there to do the retreat. But then that's us running into other issues where either people aren't responding to the dates or they're saying that they're not available. So Dave and I talked to the two guys this week, or last week / this week, and they said that we could do like 2 half-days, a full day. Can't remember what else they suggested off the top of my head.
They also suggested we do it at a separate location. We don't want to do it
Yes.
here, to make it more of a, so usually people are more open to the training if it's not at the workplace. So they just want to look into maybe some different locations.
So I think the link was sent out again. It's the same, what is the link, like Sign Up Genius or
Doodle.
something.
But if not, we'll be sending that out if you haven't received it. We'll try to get another date set where we can all meet. The next I have on my agenda is to request a motion to set the anniversary performance review raise for non-contractual employees within the road department, which is the Public Works, Community Affairs, Public Relations Specialist, and Communications, and Code Department, not to exceed 3% in 2025.
So moved.
Second?
Trustee Grimm?
Yes.
Trustee Jesperger?
Yes.
Thank you. Then I have the Case Road Storm Sewer Project update. The county sent me out the bids, go out May 27th for that project, award date of June 24th. And just let everybody know, I don't have this on here in the agenda, but they're going to have a public meeting at this location on June 17th at 6 o'clock to discuss some of that project, because the city of Columbus is going to also do some work at the same time. They're going to change out the water service lines, since we are going to have this area tore up anyways. And they're going to replace them lines at their cost. Typically, it's the residents' responsibility for that line, but they're going to do that. And things like $440,000 the city's going to spend on that project, also in conjunction with us. The bid will go out all together, but that portion is going to be theirs.
So is the city having that meeting or the engineer?
The city's going to have that meeting along with the engineers. They will send us some information and send out requested so we can put it on our website and Facebook. And they're also going to send out, the city will send out contact information to all the residents that are involved.
And what time did you say that was?
I think 6 o'clock on the 17th at 3820 Cleveland Avenue. And next I have our Aflac representative will be here at 3820 Cleveland Avenue on May 22nd at 2 p.m. For anybody who needs to talk with him or like to join, any questions,
He'll be here to answer that for the employees. To let everybody know, the township office will be closed for Memorial Day, May 26th, 2025. We're gonna have the one add-on. I'd like to use a vacation day this Friday. Yeah, the office.
Chief Riley?
I sent out a monthly report and not reading the whole thing, just want to let everybody know that for the month of April, we averaged 19 responses every day, except for a 24-hour period, responding to 19 incidents. So the weather's warming up and we're starting to get busier. And with flexibility, I would just like to sincerely thank our residents for approving the recent 3.2 mil replacement levy. This will allow us to continue our operations and replace some much needed equipment. So it's very sincerely appreciated. Thank you.
Chief Jones?
Yeah, start with my monthly report. For the month of April, the division took over 522 runs for service. We had 2 shootings, 1 homicide, first homicide in the last 3 years. There's several shots fired calls, and again, domestic violence. As you've seen on the news around Franklin County, our numbers are still high. We had a total of 24 domestic violence runs just last month. So that's particularly high for our area. 2 noteworthy items. Our blood drive that we did was a huge success. We had over 28 units of blood, saving up to 84 lives. That was from Annette Titus, our account manager at American Red Cross. I think that day we started with 7 people that had signed up, and we had over 31 people come in that day. So very, very big success with that. And they maybe want to do it again in the fall. So we'll be back with them on that. And then last Tuesday, we had Operation Unity up here. As many of you know, there was a lot of chatter on the surrounding neighborhood news about why all the police were around. We had Sharon Township, Perry Township, Franklin County Sheriffs. We had undercover officers up here with the SIU unit. And who did I leave out? We had Linden Township and a big turnout from Perry Township. The numbers and the stats from that operation, Deborah's posted online. Several illegal weapons. We had numerous felony arrests for wanted persons, stolen vehicles, and a lot of thank you from neighbors coming out on the front porches from here down to Hudson Avenue. So good turnout, and we can look forward to doing it again with everybody cooperating. Next item I have is our flock camera system. That contract is up for renewal. And I'd like to request to approve and amend that contract with Flock Safety regarding our renewal for a 2-year period beginning in May of 2025. And we are reducing the number of flock cameras by what we had in half. And that cost would be approximately $21,000 a year to come out of our equipment fund. I think it's, is that 420? Yeah, or 430?
I think it's 420.
It is 420 fund. And with that, I'd like authorization of the board to renew that contract and allow the chief to sign that going forward.
So moved. Second?
Trustee Grimm?
Yes.
Trustee Jesper?
Yes.
And just kind of an update on our Lennox car. We've had some really good success over there lately. I think it was Officer Collins working with information he's got from Bath and Body Works and Detective Loeb Prosser that's been kind of assigned to that shopping center force over there. Rather significant investigations, like the tens of thousands of dollars, and hopefully some pretty good charges being filed against a few people specific. So that car has been working pretty good at getting some of these people off the street. The Lennox Town Shopping Center on TNT River Road. Yeah, we started a project there almost a year ago, I believe it was, because of the amount of theft that we were having over there. organized shoplifting rings, and it's been working out rather well. That's all I have.
Thank you. Code enforcement?
I've submitted my monthly report to you guys. I'm just going to cover some highlights here. We've had 4 problem properties that Elmore and Dresden for almost 2 years. They had their day in court. It was a very contentious hearing between the judge and the property owners, but they finally ended up admitting that 3 of their properties were nuisance properties, and they've been given specific dates to get certain parts of their properties in order, and also includes an environmental specialist going onto the property and evaluating any and all code violations moving forward. They have another court date of July 23rd to get all these things done, and if they fail to comply with that, they could move into an abatement, which could also lead into foreclosure of the property by Frank County Treasurer's Department. So I know these processes are long and arduous, and a lot of times the residents don't understand how long it takes for all these things to move forward, and we have to stay the course of it. And it can be slow and a little bit difficult to accept why it takes so long for some of those, but this is one of the ones that's really going to move forward and be a good one. We have another home, 3800 block of Walford. That individual hasn't done anything. He has a court date coming up, and also the engineer's office was there and deemed that the property is uninhabitable and it has to be boarded up. So we're moving forward with that one. On a good note, the manufactured home park over at Westwell Road, they're repaving their entire property, the back side of it. They started and all the roads leading in and out, and that'll be a big improvement. And they've been working very diligently to try to, upgrade that whole park. There's a house next to them, between them and Connect Housing, that's going up for sheriff's sale on Friday, and I know there's several people interested in buying that property. The park would like to buy it and add additional space for more homes to go into. So that's another one of these projects that it takes a while. That one in particular, there was a land contract issue where somebody bought the house in 1996. Nobody ever transferred any of the paperwork or filed anything, so they had a hard time determining who the property belonged to. There was a person that paying property taxes on it for years, but they can't show proof of ownership. So that was finally moving forward as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Dave, I'm sorry, I skipped public works.
So Cody submitted a report to the board, just some highlights from it. They collected 14,820 pounds of brush in the month of April. They also used 4 tons of coal mix, filling potholes around the township. Like I said earlier, Cody joined Trustee Jesberger and I on a leadership meeting at Madison Township.
Thank you. Community affairs?
Okay, so did we mention, because I think I was walking the gentleman out, that's National Public Works Week? It's National Public Works Week, so we need to recognize our Public Works Department for their diligence and hard work and maintaining our green spaces in our townships and providing the services that everybody loves, such as the brush pickup, the leaf pickup, the snow and ice removal, helping with the storm drainage projects with Franklin County engineers, and all the miscellaneous other items that they're tasked with on a daily basis. So we appreciate your Public Works. We do have, I spoke to, is it Myra? Am I saying her name right, with Solar United
Yeah.
Neighbors? Okay. And we got a couple events up and coming. It's an informational meetings. I did a little flyer, gave it to her to check, kind of eyeball with all the specifics. It's coming up in June here, June 7th, 10 o'clock here at 3820 for an informational meeting about the solar power program, and then also that same day at 1 o'clock at Chambers. So I'll be pushing out the flyer and information on social media with respect to those informational sessions.
Yeah, and I'll plan to attend those. So as Luke was saying, anybody who's interested in solar panels, he suggests this Solar United Neighbors Company, nonprofit. They're bundling construction projects to bring down the price 20 to 30%. And nobody knows what's happening with refunds. Right now, we can get 30% back. And the IRS doesn't like to change laws throughout halfway through the year. So it's very likely if you did a project this year, you'd get 30% back, and it's not so sure going into next year. So that's the quick hit on solar panels. But we'll talk more about that.
Okay,
on
we'll talk a little bit
Saturday.
more offline. Okay, great. And then, of course, our second OSU Free Health Clinic is May 22nd from 6 to 8 here at Township Hall. So it's been on the sign for a while. It's been on our website, and I'll do another push on social media, but it's been up there under events as well. And I think that's it for now.
And one more thing about the free health clinic. So the medical staff that are here are able to write prescriptions for medication, but they do not have a way to fill it. So I had told a couple people at the produce market last week, I gave them a couple ideas for the charitable pharmacies where they could potentially get their prescriptions for free or like extremely, extremely low. So that is actually something that we might want to consider putting on like a flyer and maybe just having it available for residents if they are in need.
I'll have to verify, but I think they're handing out that information at
Okay.
their clinic.
Okay.
But I'll verify that if there's any.
Do we have any appreciations?
I want to thank the township administrator for helping with the day of the purge. I wasn't physically here, and there was a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross in that process. And then also thank our longtime and always participating resident Bobby Old, who recently is moving, and she donated some office supplies. Like the day I was going to send a little ticket that I needed a tape dispenser, I got Bobby's many, many decades old one that worked just great. So that was nice.
Any other appreciations?
I've lived in Clinton Township since 1989, and I feel safe. Thank you. And I think you did a great job.
It's lovely.
Thank you for that. Chief Jones?
I'm going to pay for that. You go first.
I just want to appreciate Nick Donnie for helping with the memorial trees. He'd like to direct that and help us with what we need to do to place them. And it's a little difficult for him getting around right now, but he seemed to enjoy that.
Where did you plant them?
There was 2 over 999 Chambers Road and 3 at the Triangle Park.
What's the title?
It's Hess and Gerard. Little park there. And the tree's been dead for a while now. So he reached out to me and we got it taken care of.
I see that.
Chief Jones?
I'd like to thank Izzy, Evie, and Trustee Jestberger. A lot of you don't know, but some things that go on behind the scenes here. Police week meeting last week, and some of the violence that our officers have dealt with over the last few weeks, from an infant getting run over that was 2 years old and killed. The shootings they've been on recently, and they came in last week during police week and did some things for the officers, and I just want to thank her. Some little things that make these guys keep doing what they do. So we do dearly appreciate it.
Okay. At this time, I would like to make a motion to enter into an executive session per ORC 121.22G1 to consider the appointment, employment, discipline, or compensation of public employees.
Second?
Trustee Grimm?
Yes.
Trustee Dexter?
Yes.